All right, I learned something. I turned my wire speed down and it's much better welds. Yeah, you know, I've never taken any welding lessons, so I mean, I'm still learning. Anyway, all right, that's that. Those brackets are welded on there. Get the other plate and weld the other attachment point. We have one up here for the cylinder. We're going to have one at the bottom of the tractor plate. And a half, 5 3/4, I think right there. I think I'm going to wait to weld this up final once I get the cylinder and make sure the spacing is okay. little bit of room to work here. All right, I don't have the proper bolts at this point, but I have a few of them. If only I had another 3/4 inch bolt. Let me see what I can scare up here. Alright, that's obviously not a bolt, but it's round stock. Alright, so I need to go get some bolts. Alright. So I do need to cut a plate to weld between these two lower arms. So that'll keep this thing from going like this. It'll keep it straight. Okay? So let me take some measurements. We'll cut that plate out. It doesn't need to be 3/8 of an inch. At 1/4 inch or should be plenty. All right, let me get the tape measure. We'll take a measurement there. Outside to outside is 11 13/16. Outside to outside here is a little bit less. I'm going to make it like 11 7/8. And there's an acrobatic airplane outside. I don't know if you can hear him. And this should be, can make it, just make it 6 inches. By 11 3/4. 11 7/8. All right, that'll allow me to bolt it up. Brew wants to play. Butchie, not so sure. All right, I think I have this space on there properly. Turn my torch back on. Virtually no slag on the back of that. That's the way it's supposed to be. All right, put the plate right there between these two arms. I want to shim this up about ½ an inch. All right, I think I have it set up square. And these are square to the table, which they should be with these little magnets. So I'm going to go ahead and put a couple little tack welds on there. I think I'm just going to put a couple more tacks on this side. I don't want it to fall apart while I'm working with it. Those were pretty heavy tacks, you know, but yeah. I'll probably, if I use these bolts or similar bolts, I'll use safety nuts to hold them, you know, in position. I mean, I might wind up fabricating some 3/4 inch pins, but you know, it's probably doesn't make any difference. One. All right, let's drop it all the way to the floor. All right. So this point is still above this point a little bit. But not by much. All right, so I have a range from 9 inches to 24 inches if I want to raise it, you know, up high enough. So that means I need a longer cylinder that is held by, you know, by the cylinder rather than by the end of the cylinder. So I need like a 12-inch stroke. So the cylinder is going to be 24 inches long. All right, I'm going to think about that a little bit longer. Just need to work out the geometry here for the cylinder. All right, I found a cylinder that might even work. It's Let's see what it says. Bore 1.5 stroke 12 inches. Now it needs to go, it needs to get down to 9 inches. So this would have to be mounted about like that. Which is entirely possible. I just need a couple of these split collars, diameter, outside diameter of that. Just need to design a mount for that particular cylinder. I think that'll work. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We'll come back next week working on the mount, the attachment points for this cylinder. I just happen to have this cylinder. I actually have a longer one upstairs too in my attic. But this one I think will work. It has 12-inch stroke, inch and a half bore. So using the tractor's 600 psi hydraulics, which I mentioned in previous videos, it uses the hydraulic, auxiliary hydraulics off of one of the hydrostatic transmissions. So 600 psi and 1 or 2 GPM. So it is a relatively low pressure hydraulics, but at inch and a half diameter, I mean, we'll have 1,000 pounds of force on that cylinder. But we do want to maintain the geometry so the cylinder, even when the ripper bar is all the way down in the dirt, it still has an angle up so that there's enough vector force in the up direction. So I mean, if the cylinder was horizontal or just a little bit up, you might not have, even with 1,000 pounds of pressure on the cylinder, you might not have enough in the vertical direction, right? Because an angled force has can be resolved into 2 vectors. In this case, an up vector as well as a horizontal out vector. So you have 2 vectors when you have a force in this direction, okay? If you need up vector, up force enough to lift it, I mean, it's probably, I don't know, over 100 pounds. So with all the shanks and stuff in it, might be 100 pounds. So you'll need at least, you know, if you have the cylinder like this with 1,000 pounds, you might not have 100 pounds vertically. You might need to go to here to get 100 pounds vertically. You probably want a couple 100 pounds of up force. So you want the cylinder to always be, I would say, at a 30-degree, you know, maybe down angle. That'll give you a couple 100 pounds at least up, so that you could lift it out of the dirt if it gets, you know, buried up to the bar. So you want that geometry to be right. So I think the cylinder will work. I'll order the split collars to fit this, and I don't know, may need to machine them a little bit to fit. I don't know what I'll be able to find the right size, but I'll do that. We'll come back next week working on mounting the cylinder. I may lower the point where it attaches to the back of the tractor 2 or 3 inches maybe. I have room to lower it a foot almost. I mean, there's no reason to do that. That would be, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to lower it a foot because then it'd be in the dirt, right? So, you know, I could lower it 6 inches and still have clearance under the transmissions. So I don't want to do it quite that far if I don't have to, because the more you lower it, the more flex there is in that assembly, right? So we'll do what we have to do to maintain the cylinder geometry so that we're sure we always have 200 or 300 pounds of up force, even with our limitation of 1,000 psi. It's been a little bit over 1,000 psi on the cylinder. So we'll come back next week working on that stuff. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps the channel. I know I keep asking you to do that, and there have been a lot of new subscribers, so I thank you for that. And leave me a comment, tell me what you think. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.